Good afternoon. We welcome people here and those viewing to the Calcasieu Parish public briefing for Hurricane Laura response. Today is September 3rd, 4 p.m. I'm Brian Beam, Calcasieu Parish Administrator. We'll get started, and before I bring our first speaker up, we do have an announcement. The E911 Executive Director, Richard McGuire, who handles 911 parish-wide, has notified us just recently today that the town of Vinton has all their landlines down. It's very important then if you are in I assume it's just the town of Vinton, if not maybe Vinton and surrounding areas, to use your cell phones to call 911 if you have an emergency. I want to repeat that. Town of Vinton, landlines are down, and if an emergency is needed and you have to call 911, please use cell phones. So we appreciate Richard McGuire passing that on. We'll get to our topics today, a lot of the same ones, but we have a couple other speakers as well. So let's start off with Citizen Services and Supplies. Dick Grimion, Emergency Preparedness Director for the parish.
Thank you, Brian. I want to report on the pods first. We have no new pod sites today, but we are still working on getting other locations. There may be some changes. If so, we'll notify you as soon as we get those changes. I want to go over the existing pod sites. All of them are very busy. The Civic Center, 900 Lakeshore Drive, Lake Charles, Louisiana. McMurray Park at 300 South Hazel Street in Sulphur, Louisiana. Iowa Middle School, 401 North Miller Avenue in Iowa. Walmart Marketplace, 200 Sam Houston Jones Parkway in Moss Bluff. The Railroad Museum, 400 Lake Charles Avenue in DeQuincy, Louisiana. Vinton Elementary School, 1610 Hampton Street, Vinton, Louisiana. Westwood Elementary at 1900 Sampson Street, Westlake. And Washington Marion High School at 2802 Pineview Street, Lake Charles, Louisiana. I want to mention, we mention this every day because a lot of people are asking about it. The mandatory evacuation is still in place, and we intend to leave it in place until conditions change. A lot of people have asked us about that because of their insurance policies and other reasons. The order, if you want to look at it, is on the parish website. It's up there so that you can download it if you need that for your insurance claim or other purposes. A couple of safety tips I want to cover today. Generators, of course, the sheriff's going to talk about that, and I think Dr. Kavanaugh is going to mention also. Continue to have issues with people improperly using generators and the associated risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. And the other thing that we want to remind you of, we know it's hot outside, but wear the proper footwear. There are nails, glass, snakes, you name it. Who knows what's in some of these debris piles. So we want you to be very careful, particularly with your footwear. We have limited availability of emergency room services, so be very careful when you're cleaning up your yard. And with that, unless there are any questions, I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Sorry, I was having to talk to somebody else. Did you mention the mandatory evacuation still in place? Thanks. One little adjustment to that Vinton landline announcement. These would be any landlines with prefixes 589 are the ones that are down. So any of those with prefixes 589, please use cell phones for any emergencies requiring a 911 call. We'll now hear from law enforcement, Sheriff Tony Mancuso.
Thank you. Met with the chiefs as we do every day at 1:30, and our normal problems. I feel like that's me. I feel like that we're all experiencing minor problems that we deal with on a daily basis, but as a whole, things we feel like are going really well. obviously not perfect, but considering the circumstances, pretty well. I think coinciding with the curfew and people asking, when we're going to kind of get back to some normalcy, I can tell you from a law enforcement standpoint, we will not ease up. We've been doing operations at night with helicopters, FLIR systems, our plane and FLIR systems. So we did catch 4 people last night, two with weapon violations. The sheriff's office caught somebody with a weapons violation, somebody illegally carrying a weapon, and the Louisiana State Police, excuse me, caught somebody the same thing, weapons violation, and Lake Charles Police had a looting and a domestic violence arrest. And then the rest of the police departments were reporting just minor incidences, trespassing, things like that, which could have turned into a looting scenario, but we're able to fold it ahead of time. So I think you should be seeing a high presence of law enforcement with all the agencies that are in here. We counted today, we have some 170 extra people. That's not counting the National Guard. And I know Colonel Conroy will talk about that, but if I'm not mistaken, we have 300 and something just assigned for law enforcement purposes and security. So we're talking about extra patrolmen in our community right now. So you should be inundated with law enforcement in your community. So I hope you feel safe. We're trying to make you safe, and we're trying to protect you, and I feel like we are. But again, we're not without any problems, but I do feel like we're trying to, as best we can, to solve this problem. Curfew still in effect. I can't stress enough, 7 o'clock p.m. to 6 a.m. We are stopping a lot of cars and a lot of road traffic. So if you get stopped, we're not apologizing for that. That's our job. That's what we want to do. We're seeing who's on the roadways. If you are a worker and you have business, then we let you go on your way. So you're not the problem. But we're talking about people that act, regular citizens should not be on the road after 7 o'clock. We do have some utility crews and assessment crews that are still out. That's different. We have some plant workers that have to come to and from, our medical personnel, things like that. So that's common sense right there. Traffic is still a problem during the day. We have a lot of people we feel like are still looking, but that seems to have gotten a little better the last 2 days. So, if you're coming into work, come in, work, stay at your property if you can. I know you got to go get supplies sometimes, but if you can keep traffic down, we're just going to recover so much faster. And I do feel like we're so much ahead of the ball game right now. I really do. Just from my view, I feel like even us at the sheriff's office, I feel like we're taking steps and we're progressing a little bit each day. Those first couple of days, we didn't laugh about it. We look at it now and it looks like the ultimate tabletop exercise where they throw everything at you that could go wrong is going wrong. That's what was happening to us. I don't know that the general public realizes what all happened that first day, Brian. I don't know if we've recapped it, but we had the storm come in, the explosion, an overturned 18-wheeler, a shooting, a double homicide. I mean, it just piled on and piled on and piled on. But look, we're 7 days into it, and things are looking brighter. So keep your head up and put a smile on your face. We're going to get through this together. So I appreciate that. Concludes my report, with the exception of Colonel Conroy will come in and talk about the National Guard's partnership with us and what's going on with that. Thank you. Unless there's any questions, Teresa, you have any questions? Sorry.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Mr. Beam, and thank you, Mr. Graham, members of the police jury. We had a great day today. I'll give you a quick update and tell you a little bit about what your government support team is doing. Yesterday, we continued lily pad operations, and as I've said before, we will continue those as long as they are necessary. Lily pad operations are those operations where citizens of Calcasieu are brought to Chenault Airfield, and then that's your lily pad, and then we lily pad them out to a safer, more secure location with better amenities. Yesterday, we moved 16 people and 16 cats, I believe. I've been telling you to please bear with us and have patience with the pods and ice. I can tell you that ice is flowing at full speed now, so we should have no problems with ice at the pods. All the pods are reporting good ice. I got called in the middle of the night that there was ice in the street. We've moved generators to different municipalities where they need them. And to repeat what the sheriff said, we've got over 300 guardsmen out there fulfilling your critical needs at those locations, static locations and otherwise, such as Chenault Airfield, pawn shops, gun shops, pharmacies, any place where there's an opportunity for ne'er-do-wells to do their part. We have had 6 engineering assessment teams out in the last 2 days. I think we're complete with government buildings at this time in terms of clearing those buildings. And what that means is we will clear the grounds, get the parking lots ready for folks to come in, really just make it look really good, and have a nice reception for the citizens of Calcasieu as they return. We've also done libraries, and we have gone through and assessed most of the schools. We should have the schools complete in the next couple days. Today, the government support team went and spoke to a number of municipalities. I personally met with the mayor of Iowa and the mayor of Sulphur. Brigadier General Painting met with the mayor of Sulphur, and he's in DeQuincy right now, meeting with the mayor. And then our good friend, Evil Cook, has met with both members of the school board and the mayor of Vinton. So we're really getting out there and trying to offer you what support we can, so that when 1 October comes, and it's coming really fast, we've got a really good picture for you, and you've got a really good picture to offer your citizens. So, pending any questions, that's all I have. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Colonel. We'll go to health services today. We are appreciative of having Dr. Lacey Kavanaugh with us, who will give a report. She's the Executive Director of Region 5, Office of Public Health.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Want to spend a couple of minutes today just talking about some of the health hazards that we as a community face in these post-storm days. One of which you probably heard some about already, and that's carbon monoxide. Generator safety is so important, and actually, as a result of this storm, it has been one of the leading killers in this storm so far. It is silent, it is deadly. If you are exposed to it, you probably don't know, because you often feel fine. If you do have symptoms, they're often mild, and many people go to sleep at night thinking that their generator is in a safe place, and then they actually get poisoned with carbon monoxide and don't wake up in the morning. So it is critical that people really take a good look at where their generator is. Of course, we are on a lot of generator power across this region, and so it is very important to place those in spaces that carbon monoxide is not going to build up. So not in a garage, not in a shed, not in a tight corner, not by an air-conditioned vent that is sucking air into your home, making sure it's far away. The other thing that you really want to make sure is that you have a carbon monoxide detector in your home, so that it will alert you if the levels start to get high. And those should be checked regularly, the same way that a fire alarm would be. Another thing I want to talk a little bit about is just basic injuries. We see a lot of injuries after a storm because people are working with chainsaws and power equipment. They're climbing on roofs. They're climbing on ladders to fix things. And while we definitely want to see the community get cleaned up, we want to take a lot of precautions during these times to not have injuries, especially big injuries, because remember that our healthcare system, although it is definitely recovering, we do have ERs open now, and in almost all of our hospitals, our 3 main ERs in this parish are open and functioning. But remember that those services are still not as broad as they were before the storm, and those hospitals are working on bringing all of their services back online. So we don't need major injuries from chainsaw or head injuries that require neurosurgery. We don't need those in our community right now. So we need to take a lot of precautions to be very safe as we are using that equipment. Another thing we worry about is insect bites and animal bites. bites. Storms like this, if there are any animals that are out in the community, things like, strays, but also you think about snakes as a big one. Whenever you're clearing out piles of debris, there definitely can be animals. There can be ant piles that develop. There can be snakes hiding in there. There could be rats or other critters. So we want to be careful as we're clearing piles of debris not to get bitten by animals, because then those sometimes require services. Like if you're bit by a snake, there's definitely very special medical care that you must receive. And sometimes those are challenging in this environment. Also want to pay attention to vaccination. Getting vaccinated for tetanus, especially when you're doing cleanup efforts, is very important. Of course, tetanus is present in the environment and in the soil. And if you step on a rusty nail and it's been 10 years since you had a tetanus shot, you absolutely need one of those. We do have those available at the same site as we are doing COVID testing here in Lake Charles. It's on McNeese Street where the Kroger or the old Kroger is in that parking lot. And it was available today. We did pretty good. We got several folks who came and got tetanus shots, but it will be available again tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And it's at no cost. So anybody who needs a tetanus shot who may be working on debris removal, swing by tomorrow. It's a drive-through operation, and we'd be happy to update that. We also have hepatitis A vaccines available at that site as well. Another thing I wanted to talk about is heat-related illness, because it is hot outside and people are working, often in long sleeves to protect themselves. But I mean, the heat index is very high, so we need to be aware of signs for heat-related illness. Things that we look for with heat-related illness is if someone starts to feel dizzy or lightheaded, if they start to have a headache, nausea and vomiting is another sign of heat-related illness. In ways that we reduce that is making sure that people who are working out in the heat take frequent breaks, that they get help, and they're not out there working out in the heat alone, because if they're alone and they have an event, then there's no one to potentially call if they, say, have a heat stroke. So taking frequent breaks, staying hydrated, and working with other people so that if you do start to experience signs and symptoms, you have help available that can call emergency services. Also want to mention food safety, because we are still under widespread boil advisories, and many of you may hear that term but not really understand what that means. So when we are under a boil advisory, that means that our water system has lost pressure, or that there are areas that that contaminants are getting into the water system from leaks. And when that happens, bacteria can contaminate the water system. And what that can cause, if you're ingesting it or using it for prepping surfaces that you then cook food on, is that bacteria can get on those surfaces, and then if you ingest them, they can cause gastrointestinal symptoms, so nausea, vomiting, diarrhea. And that is the last thing you want, especially with how hot it is and no air condition, is to get a bout of gastroenteritis. So we want to be careful about making sure that we're using water sources that are chlorinated or boiling water for 1 full minute if you're going to use it on surfaces that are going to be doing food prep or for hand washing. If there's not water that's not under a boil advisory, you can wash your hands with soap and water like you normally would, and then follow that up with alcohol-based hand sanitizer, which will also help to kill any potential bacteria that is present in that water for boil water advisory. And hand washing does not go out the window. We still need to be washing our hands regularly, as we always should be. Want to talk just a second as well about mental health, because this is an extremely stressful event for many of us. We were already under massive amounts of stress from COVID, and now this storm has really added to that. So I wanted to make sure that everyone knew about a line that you can call if you are struggling with stress and need to get hooked up with some resources or a counselor for mental health. And it's the Keep Calm line, and the number is 1-866-310-7977. And that is available for folks to call in, and they will definitely help to hook you up with any mental or behavioral health resources that you may need to get through this stressful time. As far as our healthcare infrastructure, Like I said, all the emergency rooms are open. All are still operating on generator power. We have 3 DMAT teams that are assisting our 3 major hospitals here in Calcasieu and helping with triaging, working out of the ER in many cases to meet any urgent needs of the community. We do have oxygen exchange sites in the community, as well as pharmacies that are starting to open again. We also have some urgent cares that are starting to open again. And the best way to get a list of those services that may be available is to call 211, and they usually keep a pretty current list if you need to refill your meds or those sorts of concerns. And last thing is that just a reminder that even though we don't want to have to think about it right now, COVID is still here. It is still in our community, and we still have to try to pay attention to those mitigation measures as best as we possibly can. We've talked about those over and over again the last 6 months. You know, washing your hands, wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart from other people, and those things still exist, and we still need to be doing them to the best of our ability. One of the challenges with COVID going forward is that because our testing systems went down and some of our hospitals actually had to evacuate, comparing numbers from pre-storm to post-storm is very difficult. So we are sort of working in a situation where we don't have good visibility on what COVID is doing in the community. We do have COVID testing sites that are now operational again. So hopefully as that comes back online, we'll get a better sense of where exactly we are in regards to that fight. So that is all I have, and I will take questions.
First of all, could you please repeat that mental health number?
Sure. It's 1-866-310-7977.
And also, you were talking about the need to boil the water. What if you're taking a shower? I mean, obviously, it would probably not be a good idea to let it get in your mouth, but would you agree with that? And is there anything else you should do when showering or bathing?
So showering in the boil water advisory is absolutely fine. You do want to pay special attention, though, if it's time to brush teeth, and try to use bottled water for brushing your teeth.
Okay, let's see. I know I had a couple more questions. What did you say the symptoms were for the heat-related illness?
So the most common ones are going to be headache, lightheadedness, dizziness, and nausea and vomiting.
So most people who are trying to get their houses in order are, working under extremely hot situations. So what can you do? I mean, it's not like there's really air conditioning. You can't leave your house for 20 minutes and go drink it, What would you suggest people do?
So one of the things is getting into the shade, of course. If you can get a towel, a damp towel, and put it over the back of your neck, that often helps to cool you down. Fans can be helpful if there are any battery-operated fans, or if you have generator power that you're able to plug in a fan. Of course, evaporation from sweat from the surface of your skin helps to cool you. So those are some things that you can do in addition to staying hydrated and taking frequent breaks.
Okay, and if you can't remember when you had your last tetanus shot, it's okay to go ahead and get another one.
Absolutely. If you're not sure, better safe than sorry.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We appreciate that report, Dr. Kavanaugh. Very, very helpful in these times. We're going to ask Alan Wainwright to come up, Director of Public Works for Calcasieu Parish. We are entering a new phase, really have already started in the debris removal, and he'll catch us up.
Thank you, Brian. Today started the new phase, but first, report on the trash routes. So the first day of trash routes has gone successfully for the parish pickup. We will hold with the pattern that we're going. We'll follow the normal trash route day to tomorrow. So tomorrow, sort of the northeast quadrant, Vinton and Starks area, I think is Starks area. So people in that area, if you have your normal Friday route, be sure you get your cans out to be serviced. So far the first day was good. Again, over the weekend, we will have the 5 perishable goods sites stood up, so if you need to utilize those facilities, we'll be able to do that. So that's good news. The debris sites, as my briefing today, we have 5 sites that are up and running across the parish. There's 2 more just about to be opened up, so that'll bring us to a total of 7. This means that Crowder Gulf, our contractor, will be basically releasing the haulers to begin picking up debris. So if you can get your debris to the curb as we've prescribed, sort it in a fashion that works best. I think we've pushed out the information. If not, we'll be pushing out more, but basically we'll ask you to sort the materials. That'll expedite the pickup. But be patient as you do it. Like I said, we'll be at it for a while, several passes to get this amount of debris picked up. Was intended to report on the National Guard. Those guys are doing a great job. The colonel's already covered the things that they've done, and the only thing we have not reported on in the parish buildings facilities is we will begin a cleaning the parks as early as tomorrow. So we'll begin focusing on some of that, get those ready to really mow ready, if you would. So we'll get those stood up. With that, all the water systems are good, so it's the same as they were yesterday. So that would end my report. Is there any questions, Mr. Teresa?
I did get a phone call today, and actually I think this person lived in the city, but this particular resident was concerned about what to do about those huge tree roots. Are they supposed to try to cut them up to get them to the side of the road? Because the contractors can't go on their property, right?
That's correct. This is a right-of-way pickup. So if they do manage to get those to the right-of-way, they will be picked up. Also, at the same time, we're looking at that as being a tremendous problem. We do have some, very large stumps, and working on, how to handle those a little more efficiently.
They would primarily just try to get something like Samaritan's Purse or one of those type groups to come cut it up for them so they could put it by the side of the road? Or do you have any other suggestions for people who feel like they're just overwhelmed with all of these trees?
Yeah. Right now, I would say focus on the debris that they can get there. There's time to work through some of the harder things like the huge tree stumps that are out there. So first, get as much of your property cleaned up as you can by getting what you can to the right of way, and we will, like I said, working on that issue. Realize it's going to be significant, and see if there's any other solutions we have besides getting it to the road. But I guess that's an answer we'll try and get at a later date as we move through the various phases of debris pickup. Thank you.
All right, at this time, I'm going to ask John Cardone to come up. John is the city administrator for Lake Charles, and he will give a report on the utilities. As John's coming up, on the power and water systems, no really new report today except from the city, so we'll have him come up.
Thank you, Brian, and good evening. I'd just like to give a brief update of some of the services the city is currently providing and some of the services I think we'll be providing in the next couple of days. Again, the city has set up 3 locations for people to drop off spoiled goods. Those locations are Grace and Medora, 2720 Medora Street, Henry Heights Recreation Center, 801 East School Street, and Weaver Park Ball Fields at 4436 Weaver Road. So if you had spoiled goods, you're trying to get rid of it, and it's in your trash can or however you want to get rid of it, if you bring it to these locations, we'll take it. Beginning tomorrow, the residents are able to bring their trash receptacles there. So if they just have garbage they typically have, not spoiled goods, and they want to drop it off these locations, we'll take it as well. Monday, we will begin our regular garbage routes where we'll be serviced garbage cans. So those residences that typically get serviced on Monday, make sure you put your trash cans out. When you place them out there, please do not place it by the big piles of debris. Don't place them under power lines, and try to separate when you start putting the debris out for our contractor Crowder Gulf to pick it up, that you separate the vegetation from the white goods from the construction debris. So our contractors ask that you separate those goods into three components: your white goods, which are refrigerators and freezers and et cetera, your construction debris, and then you got your vegetation debris like your trees and limbs. Alan mentioned our contractor has started picking up the first round today. For those citizens that have not or cannot get to their debris today, our contractor will be making several passes throughout the city. So this is just the first run. If you drive through the city, you can see there's a lot of debris piled up. There is no room for them to continue putting debris next to the curb. So we'll pick that up. You're welcome to come back at a later date or shortly thereafter and then move your next pile to the roadway and we'll pick it up. We are asking residents, do not put these trash piles or vegetation debris in the roadways or near the drains. It's important that you are in the ditches, because if you catch a heavy rain, it's going to create additional issues for our citizens. Our water service continues to get better throughout the city, our pressure. We do ask our citizens to conserve water each and every day. A boil advisory is in effect. And we do ask our citizens, if you have a water leak, please try to turn the water off at the valve and call the city of Lake Charles. If you can't cut it off, still call us. The number to call is 491-1442 and call between the hours of 8 and 5 p.m. We need to get those water lines fixed. Even though our pressure is up, with all these broken water lines on private property, the water is going into the yards instead of servicing our citizens. So it's imperative that we try to fix these water leaks as quick as possible. For our wastewater department, things are going well. We've got all of our plants running. What we're focusing on right now is getting our lift stations back in order. We have about 140 of them. I think we have provided generators to around 50. So we still got a long ways to go, but we're moving real quick on trying to get all those lift stations up and running. Again, as you drive through the city of Lake Charles, especially at night, if you have to, even for public safety, all four-way intersections treated as a four-way stop. That's real important. And for those of you that's driven at night, you know it's very, very dangerous. And a reminder that there is a burn ban in Calcasieu Parish. And it's really more important today than ever because of our water service and us trying to service the citizens of our community. If there is a fire, the less water pressure you have, it makes it more difficult to fight those fires. So please keep that in mind with the burn ban. A couple of other little items. Price gouging. If you feel there's price gouging going on, report it to the Attorney General's office. I would like to give an update on hiring contractors. We have a lot of contractors in from out of state, and we're encouraging our citizens, when you engage the services of one of these contractors, make sure they're properly licensed, make sure they carry proper liability insurance, and we encourage them not to pay these contractors all up front. In other words, you might want to do it in sections. You want to make sure that the job gets done. And those are just good, healthy tips to make sure you're getting a contract that will complete the job and do a good job for you. That's all I have, and I'll be able to answer any questions. Teresa?
Well, what is the easiest way to verify that the contractor you're considering is licensed and has liability insurance? And what if they're not licensed in Louisiana? What if they're licensed like Texas or Florida?
Well, a couple of things. I believe it's Monday. The parish is going to start registering some of these contractors. I'm not quite sure of the location right now, but they're going to start registering for Calcasieu Parish. But I always also encourage the citizen or the applicant, make sure they're legitimate. They will have a license. They should have a license. They should carry liability insurance. If they don't have insurance, more than likely they're not a real contractor. So
But
make
I mean,
sure.
how do you verify that?
Ask them for it. Ask them for it.
So what should they be showing you?
They show you the license and they show you a copy of their liability policy.
Okay, and also you were saying that the contractor's going to make a number of passes. You know, some of us may still be putting that out by the side of the road at Christmas, okay? So, I mean, how many passes do you think they'll make? And I mean, do we have like 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks?
Well, let me say this. That's kind of unknown. When I look out there, it's going to be way longer than 2 weeks. I think it's going to be way longer than 30 days. We're going to get our city clean, and we're going to make several passes. We're just trying to make the first pass to make room along our right-of-ways, but we're going to be making several passes. We've had that conversation with our contractor, Crowder Gulf, which is the same contractor the parish is using, and we're going to take care of our citizens. But the citizens have to take it from their property and put it to the curb in order for us to pick it up. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. We'll now get into some of our individual assistance updates, and we'll ask Jerry Stoller with FEMA to go ahead and come forward.
Thank you, Administrator Breen. Good afternoon. I'm going to touch on a couple of topics here again. To update you on our registrations. I'm pleased to report that yesterday we had over in Calcasieu Parish over 3,400 residents applied for federal assistance. The parish now has 59,536 residents that have registered for federal assistance. The housing inspections, I talked about that a couple of days ago. We have now have over 530 housing inspectors working in the designated parishes. I don't have an exact number how many are in Calcasieu, but that's how many are working in the designated parishes. And there have been more than 22,800 inspections issued to those inspectors. So only 6,475 have been completed. And that's not unusual at this point to have that big of a discrepancy. It's just going to take some time, given the number of inspectors we have, to catch up with that. But the inspectors will be contacting those of you who have registered and have been issued an inspection, and we'll work through that backlog of inspections just as quickly as possible. Yesterday there was a little over $6.2 million in housing assistance approved for residents of Calcasieu Parish. Today, $19.6 million in housing assistance has been approved for residents of this parish. So with the registration process well underway, I'm sure there will be some requirements for those who have registered to bring additional documentation in for their application. And we have opened up here in Lake Charles our first document drop-off center. This is at 3310 Broad Street, and that's where Calcasieu Public Schools, that's a Calcasieu Parish Public Schools facility, and they are open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. And given the fact that the parish still has the curfew in place, I'm going to encourage everyone not to wait, to 6:45 in the evening to bring your documents by, since everyone is to be off the road by 7 p.m. But again, this facility is designed in response to the COVID-19 protocols, right? Residents will drive into this facility. They will be guided to a drop-off point. They will not leave their vehicles, but you should have your documents ready to hand to one of our applicant services specialists. They will scan those documents, return them to you, and then you will exit the center. So again, that's at 3310 Broad Street, and the hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 7 days a week. I did want to give just a brief update on the Blue Roof program. As of yesterday, more than 2,000 survivors of Hurricane Laura have registered with the Army Corps of Engineers for this program. This is, again, free of charge. You do not have to register with FEMA in order to take care of this program. And it's designed to have the Army Corps of Engineers come to your residence and put a temporary roof on your home until you can arrange for more permanent repairs to be made. The registration for the Blue Roof program can be done online at USACE. That's USACE.army.mil/Blue Roof, and that's all one word. Or you can call 888-766-3258. That's 888-766-3258. And this afternoon, I would also like to provide an update on just two other issues. You've heard a lot this afternoon about contracting. And as you heard, most contracts assigned for the recovery for this disaster will be done either at the state level or in some cases at the local level. However, if a local contractor is interested in or has work that they would like to be considered by FEMA, they need to be pre-approved. And by pre-approved, I mean contractors must be registered on sam.gov. That's SAM.gov. And to qualify, the contractor must have a Duns and Bradstreet number. This is a common numbering certification system for all businesses. And at sam.gov, that's where the process can begin for that. And to acquire that number, you must have a taxpayer identification number, your taxpayer name, and banking information. And then finally, I just want to say that FEMA will be hiring we'll be looking for additional special skills for the recovery from Hurricane Laura. We are beginning the planning process for that. We are taking a look at the various skill sets that we're going to need to assist in the recovery effort. And in the near future, there will be additional information about where local residents can apply with FEMA to assist in the recovery here in Southwest Louisiana. And subject to your questions, that's my update for this afternoon.
The businesses probably already know this, but what type contractors would you encourage to go ahead and, get ready to potentially work for FEMA?
Yeah. Well, we are establishing and looking for areas to establish base camps for first responders. We also are in the business of moving a lot of commodities and other equipment, and primarily those areas, basically logistics and those particular lines of effort.
Thank you, Jerry. That's a lot of good information and a lot of new information. We'll keep reporting that. I've been asked to give a brief report on the Red Cross. I'll just read a few things from their statement they supplied. They have 24 sites spread over 9 parishes for this disaster response. In Calcasieu, I'll name the 6. You have the Allen August Annex on Moling, Huber Park, which is on 4th Avenue, Lake Charles, 3rd Avenue, Market Basket, McMurray Park and Sulphur on Hazel Street, and East 4th Street, Dry Goods Story, and Horridge Street, Vinton Middle School in Vinton. I'm sorry, the 4th Street is in DeQuincy. Today, the Red Cross served over 2,000 meals in Calcasieu. Also, the Southern Baptist Disaster Kitchens are on the ground and setting up in DeRidder. In addition, they are delivering disaster emergency supplies rakes, brooms, mops, cleaning supplies to 3 sites: 4747 Evangeline Highway in Starks, 207 West Highway 90 in Iway, that's the community center, and still being determined is a site in Westlake, so that may come at our next briefing. Today we have one speaker. I'm going to ask Tony Gilroy to come up. He is the Calcasieu Parish Police Jury President this year, and he can update us on what he's been seeing out in the community.
Thank you, Brian. I'll tell you what, it's a lot going on, and right now there's a lot of places where they are serving food and a lot of places that are not being able to get to the food. Today I was able to serve at the MLK Center on 7th Street up to 500 meals, hot meals with supplies. Tomorrow, United Way will be at the Columbus Circle in the Village from 11 to 1 with hot food and supplies. And again, I just want to stress to everybody, like Tony Mancuso and a couple other people said, that we need to take these four-way stops very serious. There are people that are running straight through. I know some people are from out of town, but those of you who live here, please stop at every corner. I'm asking everyone for the concerns of everyone. Thank you, Mr. Bryan.
If there are no other questions on any topic, we are actually going to start these briefings now every other day, which of course could change, depends on the news, but that means the next briefing will not be tomorrow, but next briefing will be Saturday, September 5th at 4 p.m. Yes, Teresa.
I had received a couple of questions about post office services that are available, and it seems to be a little confusing because one of my neighbors told me about that our postman delivered just here in the downtown area, and I don't know if you know anything about Jeff Davis Electric, but I just wondered about that. And also, I just wondered if you guys have talked to the State Insurance Commissioner's office or have any information about what is happening to these people who are running into trouble because of confusion about the mandatory evacuation.
Actually, I'm probably 0 for 3 on those. The post office, which is of course federal run system, I have heard some of the delivery, but I'm just not going to try to answer that because I won't get that one right. The second one, remind me what that was.
Jeff Davis Electric?
Oh. No, we don't get those reports. I'll be glad to try to check that. We have asked if they want to submit those through us in a statement, so we can check that for the next time. Regarding the insurance issues, I think what we've tried to do, we'll reach out to either the insurance commissioner or the attorney general to ensure that we try to answer any questions that may come up. Just so we're clear, can you state what the question is you received specifically? Restate it.
Well, you know, yesterday and today you talked about the fact that we have this mandatory evacuation.
Yes.
And as I understood, part of the reason you talked about it is because some insurance companies apparently are trying to reject residents' claims, or, and they're staying in hotels and being told, no, you can't stay here anymore because you can go home if you want, and that sort of thing. And I just wondered if anybody is doing anything to try to, advocate for the citizens. I know you said that you put something on your website to assure that these companies can see that we are under a mandatory evacuation.
Actually, yes, it's a very good point, and that has happened. We typically once, I don't know how often it happens, but it does happen. And when somebody may ask a question, let's say one of the insurance companies, they'll say, "Well, we understand it was a voluntary evacuation." The answer is no, it is mandatory. And we felt that it is sufficient to put it is on our website, which is the parish, and it is that the police jury president is who has to sign all of that. And so that's official posting it. And so we will continue to encourage that. It's definitely a mandatory evacuation, and it's definitely still in place. If there's something we can do, I certainly will. I'll talk to the state offices to determine if there's some way they can maybe get a better public relations out there to any lodging or others that are trying to remove them, because we get a lot of this too, and it's frustrating because I'm not sure why they're doubting it. It's very easy to prove. They can contact us if they'd like. Maybe that's one other opportunity to contact the Emergency Assistance 721-3800. Our OEP can answer that for somebody if they're calling, if that's what they require. We'll be happy to do that.
Well, for example, and of course I haven't had an opportunity to verify this, but we're starting to hear some of these horror stories, like, some woman who has 7 kids, who is living in a house where it's leaking and the electricity is off, and the insurance company is supposedly telling her that they are not going to cover a hotel for her just because the power is out or something like that. And so, it sounds like a really dangerous and nightmare situation for this family. And
Right. Well, in that case, let's use your example, and there's multiple things, and people probably are thinking, what do I do? Whether it's FEMA, Red Cross, many other agencies here, our goal is to try to get that person some help and somewhat of a, for lack of a better term, case management, determine what their immediate needs are, and then we can help direct them to the different help. Part of that could be assistance with insurance, maybe just helping them walk through. But the problem is we just got to know about it. And I think, to be honest, I'm not sure the easiest way to tell that person that you may hear, or people, as to who to call. But I think probably 211 when in doubt. If any, I would say that publicly, anybody listening or the word gets out, in those situations where you're just not sure who to call 211, tell them the problems. They are specifically designated to help people with what you would call social services or human services. Could be health related, could be monetary, could be insurance, could be help with house, and they will take it from there and put them in place with the right people. That's really the best answer. Because those examples, Teresa, sound like a lot more than just insurance. And that, unfortunately, is very common right now. Okay, again, just to repeat, next briefing is Saturday, not tomorrow, Saturday, September 5th, 4 p.m. Thank you.